Well, tell us a little bit about the bubble. Chantelle, I'll start with you because you're the serious one in this conversation. You've got the fighting to do on Sunday. So tell us a little bit what it's like, because it's always interesting to find out what fighters and how they're dealing with this, because it's very strange.
Yeah, strange. It's very different. It doesn't feel like a fight week, but it's not that bad. I think you can stay focused on on the fight and what you got to do, because you got no distractions. You're not like on the outside world. So in the bubble, you're just very focused.
And what has it done in terms of your preparations? Because you get the formalities out of the way, and then you're counting down the hours. But if you can't, do what you normally do, you kind of are holed up. How's that been to deal with?
I actually think this is better for me because I do my little shakeout session, I'll eat, and then I'll just rest and recover. Whereas usually on a fight week, I'll be walking about, could be going shopping, just doing normal things, and it could be quite tiring. So here, at least I know I'm recovering fully, and I'm away from everyone, so I've got no distractions.
And how are the digs? Just describe what it's like where you are.
It's actually really nice, to be fair. There's McDonald's across the road.
Just what you need.
That's the motivation, you see. Not winning world titles or financially securing yourself, to get out of this hotel and out of the bubble into McDonald's.
It's actually a bit like that. Can you? Is that the way you're kind of thinking? You look at that and you say, I cannot wait. Is that where you're going to go straight after the fight?
No, I'm going to go at Nando's and get a Five Guys milkshake. I'm going to go to Nando's and get a milkshake after.
Ahara Davis was very, very giddy about his menu, wasn't he, after his fight the other night?
Big Five Guys fan, yeah.
I'm a Five Guys milkshake fan, but that's about it.
Right. How's it been for you, Jamie?
It's all right. It's just boring to me. I've done it a few times now, and I understand, like, because of the situation and people feel the need to do it, but there's certain levels to it, and Matchroom are obviously the biggest promoters in the country at the moment with boxing, so they sort of had to set a precedent. So it's the strictest one, but there's sort of positives and negatives to it. The positives are what Chantelle just said. You're totally focused on a fight. There's no distractions at all, except you get to concentrate on making the weight. You're resting up, totally, and you can just focus 100% on your job at task. So there is positives, but the downside to it is there's literally nothing else to do. So no distractions.
Bit of a shocker, really, with Eddie Hearn, wasn't it? In terms of, it can happen, obviously. These are the things.
Depends on your perspective of what's going on at the minute. If anyone follows me on social media knows that I'm not a big fan of testing for no reason. If you've got symptoms, then of course you should get tested and isolate yourself, because what coronavirus is a bad virus and a bad infection. But everything what I'm reading from the specialists about testing and inaccuracy and false positives, just if you're not unwell, then unless you've got to do it for your job like we have, I just don't understand the point of getting tested. So there's that many false positives. Ed, by all accounts, Eddie's fine. Jazzy Dickens, for instance, the other day failed a test. He's fine. They've got no illness, no reason to get tested other than for the job, and they've come back positive. And a friend of mine's wife tested positive the other day for work, got an independent test and went to the hospital, and he was negative the next day. So there's a lot of inaccuracies, and by all accounts, Eddie's okay. So the show will go on.
And we'll get to that show in a second, but just a quick word about Stephen Ward, because I spoke to Nigel ahead of that fight. He was obviously in the bubble there. I know he's probably joined you now where you are, but a good solid performance, wasn't it, against a fairly dangerous character in Velo? And he did the business, Stephen, at cruiserweight, didn't he?
Yeah. He had to look the bigger guy. Velo was coming down from heavyweight and Stephen was moving up. But Stephen's always had a great, fundamentally he's been really good, nice solid base. He's good, great feet, good mobility for a big guy, lovely jab. And when he sticks to what he does well, instead of getting dragged into a fight, he's such a difficult fighter to beat. And I think that will be more evident at cruiserweight because he knows he won't be able to take as many risks because they're 25 pound bigger, which means they hit 25 pounds harder. So you know, it's definitely the right division for him. He should never have been fighting at light heavyweight. And I think he's going to be involved in some good fights over the next 12 months.
Well, his amateur skills were there for all to see, and I think, you know, he's got that great pedigree, as has the person alongside you, obviously formerly a GB. But this, I mean, what a night now, Chantelle. Is it going to be about using those technical amateur skills of yours, or we know you like a tear up as well? So against Araujo, what are we going to see?
I'm going to box. I'm going to do a bit of everything. I'm going to box. I'm going to work inside. I'm going to be rough and tough, but I'm going to stick to my tactics.
She's dangerous. We know that. She's never fought out of Brazil as a pro, but she's got a good amateur pedigree as well, so that probably won't bother her. Is that the way you're thinking?
Yeah, she's got a really good amateur pedigree, but feel like in the pros I'm more experienced, and I think I'm a better pro fighter, so just got to take that in the bin with me.
WBC super lightweight title. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger, does it? A WBC beautiful green belt. If you can get that, then that gives you all the currency in the world, doesn't it? I'm not talking about, you know, financially now, but it opens all sorts of doors. You have a belt like that, then anything can happen. Is that right?
Yeah, it'll be the start of it. Could hopefully, as long as I win, it'll be the start of something special. So I just got to get the win.
And you can follow your own. And then you follow your own path, and I don't have to drag up names that you don't really want to be talking about because you can just do your own thing if you get that belt, surely.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be like a carrot dangling in front of people to come fight me.
Be something that as well, Jamie. Get that belt. What would you want to see next?
Chantelle's been in a position, so definitely over the last 12 months, where she's a lot of risk and not a lot of reward for people to fight her, especially when you're talking about someone like Katie Taylor, who's got, you know, he's a world champion, well established, and he's looking for unification fights or maybe moving up a weight and sort of career-defining fights. So Chantelle wouldn't come on that radar because she's a risky fight for her. Whereas she wins a world title and then she then puts herself in the frame as a potential opponent for her. So it does open a lot of doors for her. But to be honest with you, I don't think Chantelle needs Katie Taylor. I think she's going to very much, you know, on Sunday, I think it'll be a coming out party. I think a lot of people are going to stand up and take notice of her, and then she'll set herself down her own path. So it would be great if she could get the Katie Taylor fight, because I think it'd be a great fight for boxing fans. But it won't be the end of the world if she doesn't. And I very much think that in time, she'll set her own legacy and people will look at her in 2 years, 3 years' time in the same sort of light as Katie Taylor.
We've seen probably the two best fights without fans, you know, post-lockdown with the pandemic have been women's fights. You know, obviously Katie Taylor against Pursoon, number 2, was a great fight. And then obviously your mate Natasha Jonas, Shan against Terry Harper was a brilliant fight as well. Now, I suppose everyone's going to expect to see another brilliant fight now. Does that add a little bit of pressure? Have you got to forget that? Stick to the plan. Don't worry about expectations of what people want to see.
There is a little bit of pressure because obviously the women have been flying the flag, and I wanna carry that on as well. So yeah, there is a little bit of pressure, but I just got to do what I do, and hopefully that's going to be enough to put on a great performance. And yeah, just got to do what I do.
A good thing in a way though, because there won't be any fans there. You're not going to play to the crowd and kind of get involved that way. But also that's a massive shame, isn't it, for the pair of you, that, you know, that there's no one there to enjoy this, or not enough people there to enjoy what could be an enormous moment for you.
Yeah, I'm only down the road, so it's a bit of a disappointment. But at the end of the day, I want to win the world title, and I've got the opportunity now, so I'm going to take it with both hands. So I don't feel like I need a crowd.
What about you, Jamie? Because I'm sure you're gutted that there's not, you know, thousands of people in there.
Yeah, I think, you know, the situation is difficult enough as it is. I think we've got to a stage now where crowds should be allowed to start coming back in. You know, we all did our job and locked ourselves away for a few months and sort of flattened that curve, what they asked us to do. So for me, there should be allowed crowds back in, but we're in a situation where that's not possible. So beggars can't be choosers. If Chantelle wants to crack on with a career like so many other fighters, we've just got to deal with the situation as it is. And it is a shame, but the fact of the matter is, in years to come, it won't matter. It'll always be down on paper in the record books that Chantelle was a WBC world champion. And, I'm sure she'll be able to have an homecoming fight then when we do get crowds back and we can celebrate her being a champion and fill an arena in Northampton or around that area.
And you're going to have your number one fan watching, little Leah, that you've been helping out. Again, you got a mention on the BBC podcast as well. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. It was a nice touch. But, yeah, again, any special messages yet?
For Leah?
Yeah, have you been in touch since you last saw her?
Oh, yeah, speaking to her, yeah. And, they're going to be watching back on. That's nice.
Excellent. Right, well, all the very best. And just before you go, then, what else is on the agenda then, Jamie? Just tell us. I mean, obviously you had Stephen, and then what's coming up? I mean, Aqib obviously is in action.
Aqib's on the same bill. He's boxing Kane Baker, so that's a little bit of a grudge match because of what happened last time. Mark Leach is fighting 2 weeks' time. The fight's not actually been announced yet, so I can't do any spoilers, but Eddie's going to be announcing it soon. So he's got a fight on the Matchroom card, which is a big opportunity for him. And it looks like Dave Allen's going to be boxing on the Usyk bill as well, Usyk Chisora. So there's quite a bit coming up. And then we're still trying to wait for a date for Carl Frampton boxing Herring, and also seeing what the situation is with Jack Catterall getting his world title shot, because they're currently in negotiations to try and get a date for him and Ramirez. Or, we know that Ramirez is trying to get a fight with Taylor. So we're seeing how that situation plays out. So yeah, there's loads coming up for the gym, coming up to Christmas. So busy bee.
Just with Aqib, he's such a talent, isn't he? And again, he had to pull out of the last fight, or you pulled him out when he was in fight camp and made that decision. And Kane Baker's a good lad. He's kind of, he was gutted on the night, but he's there to do a job now, isn't he? So Aqib's going to have to be on his toes, as you know. Obviously, he's got to be switched on.
Of course he is, but I always knew he'd have to be switched on. Going back to the last fight, but that's the reason we've took this fight, because I've always said Aqib's got the potential to be a world champion, but his career's got to be navigated in the right way so that he gets taught the lessons along the way early on, so that he doesn't have to learn them in bigger fights. He's already crossed them bridges by the time he gets there. So, when he's presented with certain situations against better fighters, he's already had to overcome them sort of obstacles. So he's not doing it. He's not learning on the job. He can learn it early on, and it's second nature then. So you can only do that with certain fighters because, sometimes it's too early for some. But I know I've witnessed him in the gym. I've seen him do it with world-class fighters. So he's definitely ready for it. It's going to be a great fight, and Kane's going to bring the pressure for him. But it's nothing what he can't handle. I'm more than confident he'll come out victorious on Sunday. But I think it's going to be a great fight for the fans.
And just a final point with yourself, because you mentioned obviously Jack Catterall, which he's been in this situation where he's had to hang around a bit. Taylor's made it clear he wants that unification fight. Would there be a situation, or could there be a situation where he'd be happy to step aside if they give him a few quid and take time with this, or is he just desperate for that fight?
I think there could be a situation where he steps aside, but I don't ever think there'll be a situation where he steps aside and he'll be happy. That's being brutally honest. He's waited that long now. He's just desperate for the fight. And, Ramirez should honour his obligation as mandatory. I truly believe that. He's already had grace to step aside from his mandatory to box Hooker. So, how many times do you want him to do it? But the fact of the matter is, I understand from Taylor and Ramirez's point of view, they want that fight, but you have obligations, so he's got to fulfil it. Whether they do a deal with Jack to step aside or not, it's not too far around the corner. He's sort of within touching distance for him. It's so frustrating. I feel so bad for him. But politics in boxing can kill you sometimes. They did it with me when I was boxing. I never got a world title shot myself because it dragged on that long, and I was an old man and dead at the weight. But old for wait, laughing at. But But yeah, I'm sure it'll come for Jack. I think he's just got to stay optimistic, try and stay positive. He's been so dedicated. He's stayed in the gym, so I think it'll come for him.
But if you think about it as well, if he can be patient, if Taylor beats Ramirez and unifies those belts, he's undisputed. And then what a carrot for an all-domestic pay-per-view. I mean, that would be...
Yeah, listen, that is a massive carrot. The only problem with that is I'm not sure how long Taylor will stay around at the weight. So, that is a massive carrot for him to step aside. But then, is it going to be there for him? So It's a difficult one for him. He doesn't get the prestigious fight what he wants and maybe what he deserves. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know they literally over the last couple of days they've been in negotiations, both management teams. So we'll see how it plays out. But I'm trying to stay optimistic and positive for him.
More important matters anyway is Chantelle and this massive fight. And I'm sure you visualised holding that belt, have you? Do you work on your mind as well as the physical attributes of preparing for a fight like this?
Every morning, every night, I visualise it. There's only one winner.
Right, excellent. That's you can't beat that. Right, well, have a great night. Enjoy the occasion. It's a shame that you won't be rode on by other Northampton crew and everyone else, but never mind. It's about winning that belt and then onwards.
It doesn't matter because we've got Nigel in the corner, so he outspeaks everyone.
Right, yeah. I was going to let you go, but as you've mentioned, Nigel, what can you talk us through the headgear and the masks and everything else that were going on the other night when he was in Stephen's corner?
Well, first and foremost, can we just address the Alice band?
Yeah, well, that was my point, really. Yeah,
it's horrendous. Number one, he's never even been to Italy, so I don't know why he thinks he's Italian, right? And he's far too old to wear one. If he was 21, maybe you'd get away with it. You never get away with it when you're 54 and you're in the corner with a visor on. It just doesn't work. So Nigel, listen, I'm your friend. Been friends with you for many years now. You reminded me a lot of Wayne Lineker.
On that note, have a lovely weekend and then enjoy fighting.
I don't even know where I got that comparison from, but it's gonna. I'm putting it out there now.